Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mr. MoneyJar show. Today, we are joined by Arlene Chinyanganya. She's the founder of Roots to Fruits and last year was awarded Top 50 Women in Accounting by Ignition. Arlene is a strong advocate of financial wellness for women and, in particular, Black women. And so, if that's you and you're looking to pay off debt, get a pay rise, navigate money in marriage, in relationships, what else do we talk about today? Investing, pensions, sending money back home. We talk about the black tax. We talk about generational wealth and black wealth. If any of those topics resonate to you, that's what we spend the next hour or so discussing. So do check out the episode, and I'm sure you'll enjoy. Arlene,
Hi.
you have started a financial well-being organization called Roots to Fruits.
Yes, that's it.
What do you want people to know about your organization?
Well, Roots to Fruit is all about financial wellness. And a lot of people will ask, well, what is financial wellness? And really, it's having the comfort to know that if anything was to happen in the future, I'm okay financially because we know things happen. And Roots to Fruits, the name came about when during the pandemic in 2020, when I was in my dad's garden and I was just watching him like plant seeds for vegetables, like kind of like spinach. And he instructed us to water his garden every day, especially if he's at work. And then it was a nice summer as well that year where it was really sunny. So it was the right environment. And within 3 months, because quarantine was a long time, we had, these lovely vegetables and we could eat them literally so quickly. And there's just something that I thought at that point when I was looking for the name for a financial company, and it was, you know what, if you plant a seed and you nurture it and you water it and you give it the right environment, something will come out of it. So I thought, okay, from roots to fruits, and it's meant to be welcoming. A lot of people find finances to be really emotive, to be a subject that confuses them. So it's meant to invite everybody because there are no silly questions. And we support professionals and business owners to manage their finances. That's through a range of things, from accounting services to consulting through to workshops. And we have this event, I'll call it our flagship event now. It's called Empower Her. Every March, we celebrate International Women's Day. So I love the subject that we're going to get into today. And yeah, it's been really, really great to just see the support that you can offer women by empowering them and giving them the confidence to manage their finances.
Love that. And I love the name. The first time I heard the name, I thought it was a fantastic name, and it's
Thank
great to
you.
hear the story behind it.
Thank
Take us back very quickly through your career journey and any accolades you're proud of as well.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into this?
Yes. I actually didn't think I'll end up to be an accountant. I did not like accounting at A level. So I thought I was going to be an international businesswoman of some sort. And I went to university, studied business and finance, and later on was fortunate enough to get a grad scheme at the London Ambulance Service as basically, it was just like an accounting scheme, which was great. So that's where I was starting to learn the skills of managing your own finances. And a lot of the things that we talk about now, it is for things that I've done myself within my 20s. So saving up to buy a property when I was like 27, which was really great in London as well. And that was just from things that I now talk about. And yeah, so later on qualified as an accountant. And during the pandemic is when I felt like, okay, maybe I need to share this. And it took a few years to really understand how could we commercialize it, how could we actually earn money from this. And I was fortunate to get a contract with giftgaff where I was supporting their employees. And quite a lot of the things that we have now, it was set up for them and I just rolled it out. So that was really great. And then I moved on to O2 as well, I was supporting their employees, and so many doors have opened up now. Uh, the best thing that has happened was hosting well, what would I call it? A workshop maybe at the UK Black Business Show a few years ago, and that was just I was so nervous, but it was really great because it opened us up to more clients. And yeah, a few years later, like last year, I was awarded top 50 women in accounting. Thank you. Globally as well, which is
globally.
great. Yeah, and we've been nominated for a few awards as well. But I don't think that's the most important thing. The most important thing are the amount of people that we've supported and people that have called and said, listen, I was on one of your Zoom webinars in 2020. I didn't know that they were on it. I was on your Zoom webinar and yeah, you taught me XYZ. I cleaned up my credit score. I saved up. And a few years later, I bought a property and we've got our family home. Just me being brave enough to host that session meant that someone's life actually changed.
Incredible.
And yeah, so that's what we're doing. And it's great to have supported like 10,000 people by now. So hopefully more going forward.
Yeah. One of the things I love about you, and by researching your socials, I can see that you very strongly advocate for women.
Mhm.
And I can see also that you strongly advocate for Black women too.
Yes.
And you said just before we started rolling that black women need the support.
Yes.
So why is it important for Black women
Mhm.
to attend to their finances?
Yes, you can look at the statistics for Black women across the world in terms of like the health implications. We're more likely to get certain diseases. We're more likely to be in unfortunate situations, and we don't get funding as well. I think it was like 0.02% of VC funding goes to women. So at the moment, it feels like we're not getting the support that we need. And it's important for us as a community to lift each other up, but also for other communities to support us. So it's really important that we have this conversation and we're talking to like my sisters and my aunties to empower them to manage their finances.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let's say, for example, you're a Black woman in the workplace in the UK. What are some of the things you can do to increase your pay and to get promotions and that sort of thing?
Yeah. This might be a little bit triggering for a few Black women that might feel like I go into work, I do my job, and I leave. But actually, the people that get rewarded in the workplace are the ones that engage with other people in the workplace. I'll give like a story of mine when I was working for Merlin Entertainment and I was a senior finance analyst. And
Is that the owner of Thorpe Park?
Thought Park,
Great.
yes, Madame Two
Yeah.
Swords, and yes. So it was a great place to work as well. It was so much fun. And at some stage, I was like, it's not just about the fun. I also would like to get either a promotion or a pay rise. And honestly, at that stage, I did not know how to do it because the next level was too high for me to aim for. And I had a mentor at that stage. I talked to them. So seek out a mentor if you're in the workplace. Look for somebody that's hopefully doing something similar to what you're already doing, or they've already been there. Talk to them about your aspirations. And yeah, I talked to them and they said, okay, maybe you should start to like do the job a little bit and find out what your manager needs and then start doing that. So I increased my skills. I learned what they needed. There was a report that my manager didn't like to do, and I just started doing it. I just went and researched how to do this on PowerPoint and using a couple of other tools. I showed it to her. She was like, "Oh, it's great. It's not quite what I need." And then we tweaked it. And before you know it, she was like, "This is exactly what we need." She's telling everybody else in the business. And when the conversation came up again, a few months later, who should get a pay rise, they created a job for me at that stage. So I became a finance manager and then got a little assistant at that stage and I created an opportunity from nowhere. So I'm telling that example to people that might feel like I don't know how to get a pay rise, I don't know how to act up, but actually have a look at the job description of the next level and see the things that you could maybe try and train yourself, and then hopefully that will be noticed by the right people.
When you look at the data, yes, you can get pay rises by getting a promotion,
Mhm.
but we see that the biggest pay jumps actually come from moving jobs. So, what's your
True.
perspective on moving job as a way to increase your earnings?
Do it. Do it quickly, fast, and yeah, very little emotion around it because these companies, honestly, the amount of layoffs that have happened in 2025, 2024, it has been crazy. So if you can find an opportunity elsewhere to get your pay rise, then definitely do that or bring it back if you really like your workplace. Bring it back to them and tell them, actually, I found a new job and they're offering me this much. They might match it. So, yeah, it's important to know what's in the market and remain competitive. But yeah, the most you could get is by leaving your current role.
Okay, and staying on this theme of income,
Mm.
what's your payday routine? If you go on social media now, there are lots of different people talking about the things they do on payday, but what's yours?
Yeah, that's a great question because I'm in a different season right now. So it would have been different when I was working full time, but now I'm a business owner and yes, payday is a different day depending on your situation. So, what I do though is I pay myself on a weekly basis from ad hoc kind of stuff that I do, and that comes directly to me. So, that means that I need to be mindful of the self assessment returns. So, as soon as the money lands, I calculate 20% of that. That's going into a separate bank account that's there. Now we need to know what are the direct debits that are going to be coming out in the next week and making sure that I've got enough to cover that. Usually it's all good, but just let's just have a look. So having a look at your expenses as well is important. And then I pay myself from the business on a monthly basis, something minimum just so, tax wise, we're making sure that
You pay yourself 12,570.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly. Sometimes less because of the NI these days, but actually, yeah, I just keep it standard, the 1,000 per month, 1,047 pounds. Yeah.
50 pence. Yeah,
50 pence.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's that. And so then on a monthly basis, when that comes in, which is at the end of the month, we need to make sure that the mortgage is paid for and any other bills. So yeah, it's varied from before where I was being paid on a monthly basis. So that's when we're looking at our bills for the month and making sure that I'm investing a little, I'm saving a little, and making sure that we're covering all our expenses.
Let's stay with that. So you're self-employed, you run your own business, so
Yeah.
you've just given a self-employed payday routine.
Mhm.
What is a good payday routine for employees who are paid a regular wage on a monthly basis?
Yeah, great question. Let's have a budget. Let's have somewhere where we're writing all of these things down. We know what's coming in, what's our income. It's usually regular, it's the same every month. So that's easy to do. And then we're writing down all our kind of expenses from the previous month. So then we can just double check what did I expect to spend? What did I actually spend? And sometimes that's a hard one to do just to hold a mirror up for yourself. And then, okay, fine. Now we know our expenses. We know what's left. Hopefully, there's a little bit left, and you're saving a little. So there's these frameworks that everybody gives. So like maybe it's 20% that you're saving, maybe it's 10. That's up to you and how much you actually have available. But make sure that you're putting something away and also investing. But what we mean there is just putting some something away for the future, for the long term. So it's not like your emergency fund where you're saving it and it's in a savings account. It's more like you're putting away for the future.
On the topic of investing, when we
Mhm,
look at the HMRC data,
mhm,
men in the UK are far more likely to open stocks and shares ISAs for investing, whereas women are far more likely to open and contribute to cash ISAs.
mhm.
So, what can women do to invest more?
I think a few of us feel like we don't know where to invest and there's so much information out there. Sometimes it can get overwhelming. Now I'm speaking to kind of the Black women out there that want to start to invest a little bit more. They can actually look at, if they're based in the UK, they can look at Propel, which is an investing platform, and it is founded by a Black woman. So that would be great to support them as well. I'm not endorsing them or anything, but I'm just saying since we're on the subject. But have a look at kind of the returns that you can get from specific products. So you can look at index funds, which are basically a pool of different companies that you can invest in, and that's usually managed by a fund manager. And they will tell you roughly how much you might get in return and the type of companies that you'll be investing in as well. So if it's aligned with you, then you can kind of go for that. If you're interested in green kind of companies, or if you're interested in sustainability, then that's what you can invest in. And yeah, just maybe start small because your capital is at risk and you might lose it also. Start small, see how that performs, and then see where you go.
When you invest in index funds, do you look at global index funds or
Mhm.
do you look at S&P 500?
I actually look at global index funds. I've invested in a development, well, what was it called? In developing areas.
Okay.
So that was quite nice. That's the one that has actually returned quite a lot more for me. You can look at the S&P 500 because I suppose it's like the top performing companies. So that feels safe. Fair enough. But yeah, I think it's important to look for a fund that's aligned with what's important to you because actually you'll be tracking it, you're interested in it as well. Yeah, I think that's where I'd go.
Okay. When you look at the data
Mhm,
in the UK, Black African women have the longest lifespan compared to anyone else at 88.9 years,
mhm,
compared to a median of 83 for women in general.
right.
So, thinking about pensions and retirement now, how can Black women approach that given that they live longer than everyone else?
Yes. What a blessing that is to be living, longer than everybody else. But it might not feel like it if you get to that stage and you need more support. So, whilst there's time, whilst you're still working, then it's important to put in the right things in place. So, having a look at your pension, how much is actually put away. Because sometimes we see that, okay, on my payslip, they're taking a pension and maybe it's like £25, something minimal, and you think, oh yeah, my pension's sorted out, and then have a look at it, like how much is actually in that pot. Go on the website, you have the login details, that sort of thing, and work out if it's going to be enough in your retirement phase. Have you invested in certain assets, maybe property that you can then sell later on, or actually just live in and then your expenses are lower when you have retired? I think the pension gap at the moment it's telling for women in general and then for Black women because a lot of us came from other countries and then started a lot later. So there's less actually in the pot. So I think it's really important to start where you can, but then make sure that you're being realistic because when the time comes, you want to enjoy yourself in your retirement phase.
So, we've spoken about retirement, and
Mhm.
you just mentioned getting on a property ladder.
Yeah.
You bought your first home at 27,
Mhm.
which is a phenomenal achievement.
Thank you.
Please tell us about your journey to buying your first home and any advice you have to other Black women that are looking to get on the property ladder.
Yes. So it was it was very hard to do at that point. It felt impossible, but then it worked out in the end. So the first thing that I would do as, a Black woman that's in the UK, maybe living expenses are high, think about kind of making sure that you're utilizing your budget and you're reducing your expenses as much as you can. Unfortunately, we like to move out because our parents are annoying us. And you know what? I'm moving. I did the same. I left Leeds, which is where I'm from, and then I came to London. It's a lot more expensive. And yeah, we don't want to live at home, but that is an option for you to reduce your expenses so that you can save more. And after I saved enough, I did have help. And there's a scheme right now that's out there, which is called the Lend a Hand scheme, where 10% of the value of the house can be saved by a family member. They put it in a savings account. They will get it back in 3 years, and you kind of get a 90% mortgage. And then you go away and you buy your place. After 3 years, they get their money back. If that had existed, I definitely would have taken that because I did need help from family members as well. So just see what is available to you. I know a lot of people might not have that help, but there are a lot of schemes that they can look up, or, shared ownership as well. You can look into that, whatever is the most appropriate for you. So yeah, at that time, I utilized the Help to Buy scheme, saved as much as I can, had family help, and then looked for a property that was well outside of London. I really wanted to live in Ealing, but I couldn't afford it. So make sure that also you're realistic with how much you've got available, and hopefully the next one will be exactly what you want.
When you were saving up for your deposit, did
Yeah.
you live at home with your parents?
I actually didn't. I was just living in a house share in London somewhere. What I did was that promotion that I got was really good. So then I could, afford to get myself a place.
Okay.
Hmm.
Are you happy to share numbers, or was it, or like a percentage? How
Yes.
much
How much?
promotion?
Oh, okay. So I got a 20K pay rise from that promotion.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So someone, just by doing the steps that you spoke about earlier on
Hmm.
in the episode, could be on an extra 20K. And
Yeah.
this is where they made the additional role for you, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, just kind of looking for opportunities. It will come up. And if you've placed yourself as someone that is engaged, someone that has showed value already, and people, you're on their radar, then potentially you could, especially in London.
You didn't live at home with your parents, but within our community, in our culture, when you live at home with your parents, it's quite common to pay your parents' rent.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
So I would say I don't like calling it rent. I prefer like a contribution towards the bills, but it is what it is. I think at a certain age, if you're all living in the same household, we know how expensive it is to run a house, bills, food, everything else. So contributing towards the bills is, I don't think it's a bad thing. It just gets a little bit silly when it's too much or it's more than you moving out, because I think the objective should be kind of building each other up. So within the family, making sure that we're keeping the wealth, and then, that child can go and get themselves another property. So, we're helping each other out here. But I do not think it's a bad thing to contribute towards the household because it's expensive.
Interesting
Y-
perspective.
Yeah.
When I was researching you on social media, one
Mhm.
of your most viewed videos was on the black tax.
Mhm.
Would you mind explaining what you meant by the black tax and how it affects people from the community?
Yes. So basically, black tax, it came about from South Africa, actually. So it
You're
was
from Zimbabwe, aren't
I'm
you?
from Zimbabwe. Yes, I felt like, oh wow, that's interesting, because I first heard about it in the US because they talk about it quite a lot. What is it? So it is when one member of the family who's probably doing well is supporting the rest of the family, and that could be through kind of medical costs, could be living cost, or school fees as well. So it affects quite a lot of us. But from my perspective, because I'm Zimbabwean, we send money back home, and it is to support all sorts. A funeral happens, we have like a whole system of, this is the person that you send money to, this is the bank account, and then it goes to support or anything else. I think it's a good thing when, people support each other within the community. However, there's an expectation for maybe specific members of the family to provide more than others. And that's because of the perception that they are earning more than the rest. So I have had amazing kind of like insights from people that have given these examples of, we were sending for this, and then we came to find out that that didn't happen at all. Or others that have said that actually I was sending money back home, and that put my cousin through school, and she's now moved to the UK. So they saw the fruits of kind of their labor there. So I think it's a hard one, but I genuinely think that overall it's a positive thing. It just needs to be managed a bit better.
Okay, so you're pro contributions
Yes.
if living with parents, and you're pro contributing to back home as well.
Yes, you can kind of tell. Yes, I like helping others out because that's how you can rise up, right? If you're helping each other, but being mindful that other people will take advantage of you. So just kind of go about knowing that you might not see that money again. And it's okay if they didn't use it for what you intended for it. That's okay. You did your bit.
What's your advice to people who might be sending money to friends, to family members, even distant family
Mhm.
members for things like funerals and school fees and upkeep, who want to establish boundaries
Mm,
with, with their friends and family?
yeah. Great question because even I'm not sure that it's an easy subject to have or a conversation to have with my family members that have an expectation, distant family members as well. But I think it's important to start talking about it and to lay your boundaries. So, for example, if it's not available and you just explain to them what life is like here. I've had family members that have moved from Zimbabwe to the UK literally in the last year, and they've realized that actually life is hard. And they've told people back home to say, listen, life is hard. And we didn't manage to have those conversations with them, but now they don't expect much from those family members because they've explained that it's just not available. But when it is, we will send it over. So I think it's just being mindful of that because if you're going to give, you want to give positively and make sure that, there's no bad energy there. So if it's not available, make sure that you let them know. But if it is and you're happy to give it, why not?
Give positively.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
No worries.
I want to ask some questions about relationships too. Um, how, what tips do you have for couples
Yes.
to manage their finances together?
Mm.
And I'm thinking of when you first started dating or going out, all the way to when you're married and you're living together.
Yes. So I think it needs to start when you first get together, like having those conversations and having an open enough kind of communication, way of communicating. And yes, so I think this is one that is a little bit tricky, especially depending on where you're from, what you believe in. And I've had, unfortunately, a few clients that have come in 2025 after they've divorced and they have no idea what has been going on financially and they have to pick it up now. They've got children and I'm not trying to say that that will happen to everybody, but it can happen. So as women, it's really important for us to feel kind of encouraged and confident and sit down and have a conversation with your partner about where they're at financially. You want to find out about their credit score. You want to find out how much debt they have, maybe how much savings they have, which is nice. So you just want to know where they're at, what's their money kind of mindset, and
Salary?
why not? Because we're having the conversation, right? It's not on the first date. Let's not talk about it on the first date. Maybe when we are establishing that this is actually a thing, like we are, seeing each other, we're exclusive. These are the conversations that you should be having because you're heading towards something that's a bit more serious. I've heard of people that now are engaged or maybe going to buy a house. That's when you find out how much the person's earning, your partner. But I feel like that's way too late because if you're budgeting for yourself and you're lay down your goals, your financial goals, and you're thinking about another person included, right? So then you need to be able to write down the number to say this is how much they earn, therefore this is the type of house that we could get. So it's important to have the conversation as early as possible, but not in an inappropriate way either. Mhm.
What, so that's when you first started dating. What about when
Yes.
you're established couple and you're married? Any tips for managing your finances?
Yeah, great question. So, my first client was my mom and my dad, and that was
Interesting.
very informal. Basically, we sat down, and this was during the pandemic, and my mom was going through, and she's okay with me sharing this. She was going through furlough at that point, and we were thinking, oh, so what's gonna happen? Where's Where's our budget? Where's our Excel spreadsheet? Because I would then delete this number. How are we going to do it? And I'm sitting down, I'm speaking to both of them, asking them specific questions. And it's like, oh, I don't know. Do you know? It's like, no, I don't know. And I felt like, hold on a minute. If you're married, if you're running a household together, you need to know what's going on. You need to have these conversations. And I'll say, have a money date, make it a romantic thing. You can make anything romantic. You can have a date, talk about your finances, have a joke about certain things. So then now it's not a difficult conversation when difficult things come up, like I've been laid off. What should we do? We've already opened up that line of communication. So I believe when we're married and we're, running a household, then we should be having a regular conversation. So when you're doing your budget on your own, also include your partner, have shared documents as well because you're together. So, yeah.
Should women lend money to their partners?
Ooh. Partner, let's define that. Are we talking we've been on a date for two for 2 weeks? And you know,
I'm thinking before
mhm,
before marriage.
before marriage.
Because when you become married, you become one financial entity
Yes.
anyway.
Hmm.
But before you reach that milestone.
Great point. I would say if you trust that person and trust that, they're going to do whatever they're going to do with the finances, absolutely. And again, it's the same as, the cousin question where if you give money, then expect for it to never come back. But if it does, amazing because you're lending it. So you should kind of get it back. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing to lend money as long as we've been having those money conversations. So I know what you're going to use it for and I trust you. So then that's okay. But there's some other situations I think will be maybe a little bit inappropriate, especially if you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know where they are, you don't know where they live. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it should be based upon how much you trust the partner in that context.
Yes.
You've mentioned credit scores a couple of times.
Hmm.
Could you explain what credit scores are,
Hmm.
how to increase them, and we can talk a bit about debt management too? Because whenever I post about debt on social media, those posts always get watched a lot.
Yes. Yeah. So because it's something that affects, us all, to be honest. And basically, a credit score was created to support lending institutions to understand how risky is this person if we were to lend them money? Are they going to pay us back? So they created certain rules to be able to measure that, way back when. And they are changing it, it's evolving. But it's certain things like where you live, are you actually registered to vote? So if you're not, then maybe register to vote because that's a quick tick. And also they measure how much you've already borrowed and how much you've used from what you've borrowed. So it could be that you've got a credit limit of £2,000 from Barclays or something, and you've actually just only used £100. Then that means that you're not depending on that debt. But actually, if you've utilized something like 80%, then you look a little bit more risky because do you live on your credit card? So there's certain things that they check out, but there's different um, facilities. So there's different apps that you could check. So Equifax, and it could be different depending on the way that they measure you. So it's important to check all the platforms to see like how am I looking. And I really like checking my credit score because also it means that if someone is using my name as fraud, then I can at least see that they've borrowed against my name and then do something about it before it's too late and make sure that you're making your payments on time because that's also measured on your credit score.
Let's say you were dealing with a client that
Mhm.
had a bunch of different credit cards,
Yes.
different balances on all of them, different interest rates on all of them. How would you help that client to become debt free and to
Mhm.
begin to pay down their debt?
Yeah, and it can be overwhelming, especially if you've got loads of debt and across different platforms. So it's important to just jot it all down first. So I've got a free Excel document actually when you subscribe, and it just goes straight into your inbox, and you can just jot down all those credit cards or loans, whatever it is, and then write down, okay, this is the interest rate for each one as well, because a lot of people do not know. So let's write that down, because then the percentage, the APR, let's write that down. And then also, what is the credit limit and how much you've utilized? So, how much do you have left? So, how are we going to start paying it off? Let's have a look at the highest interest rate, because it's important to not pay the bank for lending you money. That's money going down the drain. So maybe tackle that first. Some people might like the other method where they pay off the lowest that they've borrowed, because that's nice to tick as well when you just feel like, I'm satisfied, that £100, it's all gone. But I would encourage people to go with the highest interest first, and then just start ticking that off and making sure that you're paying off the minimum payments for each one as well. And so within kind of like the spreadsheet that I mentioned, we've got like a forecasting tool where you jot down how much you owe, how much you'll be paying off on a monthly basis, and then it shows you when it'll be paid off. And usually that it serves as, something that's motivating, especially when we're having a coaching session with somebody and they're like, oh, within 9 months, I can pay this off, but it's taken me 2 years to just figure it out. And it's nice to see, like, okay, that's what I'm working towards. So that's what I'm going to do.
Cool. So yeah, highest interest rate first is the Avalanche method, and
Yes.
smallest balance first is the Snowball method. And
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah, same here. I always tell people to write down all the different debts you have and then arrange them from highest to lowest interest rate,
Mm-hmm.
or from smallest to biggest balance, and then pay off as much as you can from the top
Mm-hmm.
and pay the minimums on the rest until the top is done, and then you just work your way through them.
Brilliant.
Balance transfer cards and money transfer cards are also possible as
Yes.
well, but they're credit score dependent.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a lot of women listening to this who are thinking of starting a family.
Mm-hmm.
What considerations do you need to have as a woman when you're working if you want to have a kid? Yeah.
Yeah. And you're planning for it. So that's great. So you can start thinking about saving enough. So children are expensive, especially babies. They're expensive. And I would say having enough for that maternity period. So just understanding what's the scheme in your workplace. Some people, they get, I don't know, with 6 months off. Some can extend that. I was fortunate to work somewhere, but I've left now, and they would have paid my full salary for the full 12 months. So, yeah, there's different workplaces that offer those benefits. So just find out what the setup is where you work. And also, there's the statutory amount that you're kind of meant to get as well. And if you're planning with a partner, then just have a conversation with them to just understand, like, okay, if we're going to be living off of, this much, will we be able to pay our bills? Or actually, maybe if income drops, then we can't cover our bills. So we need to have a conversation about how we're going to tackle this before the pressure of I'm due in 3 months comes about. So there's that element to make sure that after, you know, you don't have financial issues. You're just worried about making sure this little human grows up to be an amazing person rather than worrying about the finances.
This is something that only would have been possible in the last 5 years or so, but
Mhm.
you can now put your employment contract into like Chat GPT or Gemini and say, What's my maternity policy?" And it will
Mhm.
tell you,
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah, quite
exactly.
simply.
Yeah, you could just do that and then find out, or you could talk to your HR partner
Yeah.
as well, just to find out, what's available for you. And something that I recently learned is that also your pension, making sure that that's covered, because some workplaces it's, different policies. So making sure that you're still paying into your pension, and you could even negotiate, making sure that you're topping it up, because the pension gap, we know that there's a difference between men and women, and one of the biggest reasons is because you're off on maternity leave. I did want to mention as well. I recently found out that you can set up, is it a junior pension? So you can set up a pension for your child when they're one, maybe, and just put away £10, and then watch that grow. By the time that they retire, they might have millions.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Mhm.
How can parents save for their kids? I'm thinking of junior ISAs and junior pensions.
Yes, exactly. Putting away as little as possible. Honestly, you could just put away £1 and that's something at least. So, uh, utilizing those schemes like the junior pension and the junior ISA is basically the same as an ISA, but it's meant to be for, I think, at 18 years, you can then,
Converts an adult ISA. So
exactly.
you can put £9,000 per tax year into
Hmm.
the junior ISA versus the 20,000 into an adult one.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it's a great scheme to utilize. Even grandparents can do that for their grandchildren as well, and maybe just helping them along in understanding kind of how to save, and maybe including them in certain conversations about running the household, and how to budget, and delayed gratification as well. Like if you are to get £10 this week, you can utilize £8, and then the rest of the two put it away to save for your favorite toy that you can buy for yourself at some stage. Those little skills at a young age, they will pay dividends when they're older.
Hmm. You don't have any kids,
I
do
don't
you?
have any kids.
Okay. As a woman in the UK
Mhm.
in 2025, do you have any concerns around the cost of childcare?
100%. I really do. Just talking to my friends about all the different things that they need to get for their children, and also uniforms and all sorts that you have to provide for them, which I would want to make sure that they do not want for anything, to be honest. So, I mean, if I'm going to be personal here, I left a thriving career to then, focus on my rooster fruit. But that means that the income is not as stable as it was before. So at the moment, I would be thinking, hold on, if you're to then start a family, can you survive? And it's inconsistent and it's uncertain as well. Is that okay? So I can only imagine some people that are living, I think the is it 34K, that's the average
37.
income. 37K,
Yeah.
yeah, average income. And then you have a family as well. Like how can you kind of survive? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. So yeah, it is something that I constantly consider when thinking about, okay, what are the next steps in life?
When I was looking you up on socials, I saw that you covered the spring statement.
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts or predictions for the forthcoming
Mm.
autumn budget,
Yes,
just on the 26th of November?
yes. So just thinking about this, can I tell you what I would like to be in the budget? I would like more focus on entrepreneurs. I know that there's a bit more kind of conversations about making sure that small business owners are supported, but in terms of female founders, we've talked about how much, Black women get in VC funding. Let's have the grants. Let's have the support, in terms of mentors or opportunities to learn from other people, but from the government. So making sure that certain founders that have amazing ideas, I've got clients that have ideas that will help, the health of a woman or help with sustainability and stuff. And they're really innovative, but they cannot grow because they don't have the funding. So I think that's an area that I would really like the government to focus on, and also in terms of financial literacy as well, maybe having a specific kind of fund or a program to make sure that financial literacy is a key thing, so that a lot of people could benefit from it. So let's put the money towards that.
Why do you think so little VC funding goes to women and then to Black women comparatively?
Yes, I think it's the wealth that, who holds it, who's running these VC funds. There've been a few that have started out, which is great. Actually, I at Empower Her, like in 2024, I interviewed Eric Collins, who has a VC and he's investing in marginalized communities. And I was like, honestly, thank you so much. Really inspiring. And I know there's a few more, like Black Seed as well, have started up in the past few years, and a few more are starting, and a lot more people are becoming angel investors as well. So then, by people, I mean Black people. They hopefully will be filtering that to Black founders as well. So I think it's who holds the wealth. They are supporting certain people. And unfortunately, it's not Black women. So I think as a people, we also need to support each other, but also we need other communities to support us too.
Hmm.
It's not because they don't have the ideas. They definitely do.
Yeah. So this isn't a Black woman founder, but I used to listen to the podcast How I Built This, and
Mm,
Sarah Blakely is on there.
mhm.
She's the founder of Spanx, the kind of
Yes.
hosiery business, and she talks about how early on in her entrepreneurial journey, she would be in rooms full of men,
Mhm.
and they wouldn't even understand why would you need to wear like an undergarment underneath.
They're a
Um,
lifesaver.
and then if I remember the story correctly,
Mm,
one of her potential investors then spoke to his wife, who then explained it to him, and then he came round.
mhm,
So um, yeah, it's like not on to your point.
mm.
There are ideas, but do the people holding the money even understand the market opportunities that are there?
Yeah, yeah. And it's on them to educate themselves because this is innovation that we're letting slip by. So it's really important to give everybody an opportunity. And just I've had the opportunity to look at African founders as well and how innovative they are, and they focus on sustainability because they have to. They're working with very little resources. So if we could fund these amazing founders that are creating something from nothing, then the world will be in a better place.
That's a really good point to ask about. Um, how different how differently do people approach money
Mhm.
in Zimbabwe versus in the UK?
Yeah, great question because I moved here when I was 11, and so I can see it from both perspectives. So in terms of back home, what I've noticed is that everybody's scrappy, everybody's innovative, everybody has some sort of side hustle, even though they've got a really good job. They also have a business on the side just to make sure that they can sustain their lives because everything is cash. Very little infrastructure, unfortunately. We used to have it, but not anymore. So that means that you need to have the cash in hand. So the savings kind of schemes that are there, it's more like community driven. So I use schemes very lightly here. It's like, okay, if there's five of us that are in a friendship group, for example, and we put in £500 each, that's 2,500 that's going to each person each month. And then also this opens up a line of kind of, oh, what are you going to do with your money? I'm actually sending my kids to school, or I'm buying a business, or I'm buying a car, or whatever. So it's very much a community thing because it's had to be because we don't have the infrastructure. And I've seen that kind of follow on in the UK. Looking at my mom, that's how she's saved for forever. Even right now, there's still some sort of, we call them rounds. There's a rounds that's still going on right now to make sure that she can save up rather than saving in the bank. But yeah, we're foregoing interest here, which is the downside of it. So yeah, in terms of culture, sorry. In terms of the culture, I would say that there is a community feel when it comes to managing your finances. We help each other. I mentioned for me to get on the property ladder, there was family help there, and it was no questions. You need it, cool. So that's quite nice. But there's the whole hustling and hoarding and saving it and keeping cash and not trusting um institutions and banks, which hope it's not the best thing that we've carried from Zimbabwe into the UK.
Okay, so in the UK, people are more likely to utilize institutions because there is the infrastructure here and they trust the infrastructure.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly. And
What
they
about you?
can see, where it's going. They can track it as well compared to it could disappear
Mm,
back home. But yeah, just to emphasize that the way that people just feel like, okay, I've got an idea. They just go out and then they just start a business. They're very scrappy hustlers. Oh, I've been thinking of this idea. And by next month, someone has, acted on it. They're not just talking about it. So I quite like that as something that's from Zimbabwe.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
We have just two more questions.
Okay.
The penultimate question
Mhm.
is, what are three financial habits that you live by?
Yes. I'd say as a business owner now, it's all quite business related now. It's hard to separate myself from the business. So invoicing on site, like if you've provided a service, invoice that day. I've had to chase other people to invoice me, and it's like, don't you want your money? Invoice. So making sure that you've got something set up to make sure that that happens. And then also forecasting as well is a habit that I've carried on. I've been doing that personally for my personal finances, and I've carried it in the business as well. A forecast basically is a prediction, and you're basically laying out what you think you're going to get in and what you're going to spend, therefore what's left, and then you just forecast it in the next 12 months or years. So, yeah, that's something that I am still doing, especially for the business. As I mentioned, could be 1 month is a great month, the next is not so much, but we need to make sure we can pay our bills. So, that's another habit. What's the other one? Looking at expenses as well is something that I've really do, especially in the business, because sometimes there are some subscriptions that you just like, oh, of course, I'll get Canva and I'll get CapCut, and it just adds up as well. So on a regular basis, I check to see what and when you've got employees as well, sometimes they've got a great idea, like let's get a Riverside, subscription, and then later on to find out we haven't been on Riverside for 6 months. Should
Mhm.
we be carrying this subscription? So just having a look at where your expenses are going.
Yeah. For monthly subscriptions for my business, I use Google Tasks.
Ah.
Yeah, so whenever I subscribe to something, I
Mhm.
immediately put it into Google Tasks.
Interesting.
I put the fact that it's a monthly payment, I put the date that it comes out, and then in the body of the task,
Mhm.
I put how much the payment is. So now in my Google Calendar, I have these little like events that show up to
I
show me
see.
when payments are coming out.
I see.
And when I did all of that, I was like, wow, I'm spending like a couple £100 a month on like the Riversides and
Yeah.
because there's so many subscriptions now.
Mhm.
Thank you. My final question is, and this goes to all guests,
Mhm.
what does black wealth mean to you?
Great question. What does it mean? I think it means freedom, and I think it means peace of mind, and having a look at kind of black wealth. That's the whole world. Like, where could we be if we're making sure that black people are okay? They're not thinking about feeding their children with, they're thinking about innovative ideas and sustainable ideas as well. Bringing it back home, I would say it's generational wealth, and it's not just about finances. It's making sure that certain things are put in place and we're okay. It's not the finances that we think about. If someone passes away, we know that we've got a pot on the side. We're thinking about just being all right rather than how are we going to set up a GoFundMe to make sure that they're laid. So I would say it is the freedom part, and the peace of mind is really important for us. And I really hope that this generation that I'm my parents moved me here, so this is from my perspective. So I would expect myself to then now look after the next generation. Now that we've moved here, we're settled. Let's make sure that we're getting the wealth and we're keeping it and we're making the world a better place.
I love that answer.
Thank you.
Arlene, thank you so much for coming on.
Yay. Thank you for having me.